Imprint, a Leah Clearwater and Sam Uley. Act 1. Everyone knows the complicated story of Sam Uley, Leah Clearwater, and Emily Young. Despite imprinting on her cousin, Hell being engaged to her, Sam Uley is still in love with Leah. That will never change, regardless of his relationship with Emily. Sam could never forgive himself for hurting Leah, but the damage has been done, especially when Leah begins to distance herself more and more from the pack for good. Kamani is a childhood friend of Leah and Sam. She had seen it all, witnessed the rise and fall of Sam and Leah's relationship. While she takes a neutral stance in the situation, Kamani didn't appreciate the way the pack had seemed to dismiss Leah's feelings as if she wasn't hurting. Sure, she could be blunt, harsh, and a bit rude at times, but it wasn't just Emily and Sam who were trying to understand the situation. Kamani joined Sam's pack a couple of months after Leah and Seth had joined, and while she gets along with the pack, she doesn't at all forget. Act 1, Part 1. Leah Clearwater grieved the life she once had, the life she lived before everything came crashing down. From the moment Sam had broken up with her, to the passing of her father after she phased, to Leah it felt as if she was put in these circumstances to suffer. Leah wasn't the kindest person to everyone, but she wasn't the meanest either. And God, having to listen to her ex's thoughts about her cousin, infuriated her more and more. The imprinting was way out of his control, and yet there were other ways to go around it, especially when it came down to her feelings. Shit, it wasn't like anyone had considered how she felt. It sickened her that the man she fell in love with and had a serious relationship with is now with Emily. Leah had questioned herself over and over if this would be the reality she will forever have to endure. As the shifter goes deep into thought, her head suddenly turns to look at her brother, who was calling her name inside Emily's house. Seth had a carefree smile on his face, an innocent look adding to his appearance. The young wolf holds up the phone, gesturing his older sibling to come grab it from him. "Who is it?" she questioned, her eyes narrowing down as they flick between him and the device. Leah looks at it in suspicion, uncertain whether it was a person she knew or not. "It's Kamani, says she needs to talk to you about something." Seth shrugs as he steps out of the way. Kamani, she hadn't listened to that name in a couple of weeks, nor had she seen her in person since high school graduation. It wasn't often where Leah heard from her, and in this moment it was surprising to say the least. College had been physically and emotionally draining at times, like how many things in life were. Leah takes the phone from Seth, sliding it up to her ear. "Hey, long time no see, stranger. Was starting to think you had forgotten about me." Leah could tell her old friend was grinning ear to ear behind the phone as she speaks to her. Leah's face relaxes slightly, but it retained the neutral expression. "Could say the same thing to you. You hadn't called in what, a month?" She scoffs with no real ill intent. "Been caught up with work and classes that I haven't had actual time to check in like I wanted to," Kamani explained as she moves away from the phone for a split second. "Right?" Material rustled in the background, creating a noise that grated Leah's ears. She clears her throat, mumbling a quick sorry. Leah wasn't too upset about it. Everyone had their own lives to focus on anyways. Some people tend to leave her out of it, which wasn't at all surprising. Even as they caught up on small stuff, Kamani had a lingering question. "Seth seems to be doing good though. Heard Sam's been on his case about keeping his grades up. And speaking of, how is he anyways?" Of course, she'd ask about Sam, but that had came with the fact the trio had known each other for years, way before the pack had formed. They were close, not to mention, way before. Leah rids the train of thought immediately. To go into details about Sam's well-being would have been better to explain in person. Leah hadn't exactly told Kamani why he broke up with her, nor anything about her and Seth joining Sam's pack. How believable would it be to know the so-called legends had become a reality to them? "He's fine," she retorts, relatively dry, finding no need to go into an explanation. "Let's not talk about that right now." Kamani sensed the distaste in Leah's tone, and it clicked. They weren't on good terms. She only learned that Sam broke up with Leah unexpectedly, weeks after he had avoided her. Noted. The subject quickly shifts to Kamani, announcing she's coming to visit her grandfather for the summer. Finally, Leah needed something to keep her occupied and away from the pack for a while. Conveniently enough, her grandfather still lived close to the Clearwaters. That made it better. The more the merrier. Leah eventually ends the call, once Kamani had to part ways for the time being. She hangs the house phone up with a sigh. Kamani's visiting, Seth asks. A bit too excited for comfort. Seriously, eavesdropping again. It had been a while since he's seen his sister's best friend. She was the opposite of Leah. More laid back and nicer, yet she still put people in their places when needed. Kamani's grandfather Emmett had driven her back home after she made it safely off her flight. The girl disliked the way people had occasionally looked in her direction, like they had nothing better to do. She wasn't much of a people person, yet alone did she enjoy being in a busy area. If it had no relevance with school, she wasn't that interested in socializing with others. Her dark brown eyes stare out the window, finding entertainment in watching the trees. The music in the car played softly, tuning out the silent ride. There was no awkwardness or the need to conversate right away. Emmett had figured she'd be too exhausted to engage in conversation, so he left it at that. Her mind thinks about how Sam and Leah were truly handling the end of their relationship. It was odd that Sam broke up with her without any logical explanation. Of course, Leah didn't give too many details. Not that it was completely her business though, but she was elated to see her friends again. It felt good to get out of Michigan for a while. With how bipolar the weather is, traveling back out was better than nothing. While the town resembles the same appearance as it had years ago, there was a different shift in the atmosphere. Emmett pulls into the driveway, tires rolling over the small rocks laid down on the land. The elderly man helps his granddaughter with getting her belongings into the small, quiet house. Kamani sets her last bag on her bed, looking around as she unpacks. Well, this was a start.